Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is January 18th, and you're listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today we have kind of a fun conversation. Meet your newest AI robot. It's your car. So that's what we got going on today. We've got Jyunmi, Beth, I'm Brian. Not sure if we have anybody else hanging out with us today, but that's okay because I think this is a fun one. We could probably talk for 2-3 hours on it. So the idea of this, the idea for this conversation for this show, there's always some sort of nugget that starts in probably our Slack community, and then we're like, oh, we should talk about that on a show, and we try to write it down really quick. So this one came from something that either Andy shared or I happened to come across, and it was Elon Musk talking about the similarities between their Optimus humanoid robot, the one we talked about it yesterday in the show. There's a video out right now of it folding a t-shirt, and I was saying, oh, it's like, who cares about the t-shirt? What I'm just blown away by is how quickly their humanoid robot has got good at like dexterity things and in just fine motor things. And what does that mean for like healthcare and assistance and all this stuff and nursing homes and blah blah blah. So but what he said in the comment was, oh, there's a lot of crossover between Optimus and a Tesla car. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then he didn't really go deep into it, but he's like, they share a lot of the same knowledge base, a lot of the AI, all the stuff we've been doing with Teslas. We use that data and it goes into doing stuff with the AI. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then it just got me thinking about like, it's fast, but it's slow, right, guys? It's like everything is sort of moving at a pace where it's sort of being adopted and we're getting more used to driverless cars like Waze or Cruise. And if you live in Phoenix, you've taken a driverless taxi at this point, most likely, in other parts of California, like San Fran and stuff. I mean, I personally haven't, but if you were in certain cities, that's normal-ish at this point. Like, people have done it. But at the same time, it's AI, and so it's moving really fast. And so it's this juxtaposition of, are our cars basically quickly or slowly, depending on your viewpoint, turning into AI robots? And I think there is a lot of support for that idea. So before we go any farther and talk about all the other ways in manufacturing and different things and data that AI is now involved with the car process, from manufacturing all the way through drivable, what do you guys think? Do you feel it the same way? Do you sit in your car and think of this, oh, this is a robot at this point? Or is it just a car that has like a bunch of tech?
I don't sort of think of my car as a robot, and I think that's one of the reasons that this may be something that, at least in cars that we're driving, not cars that we're seeing empty on the other side of the road, that this adoption may be kind of smooth or not like a big like
Right.
because like I do trust cruise control. I don't know how it works, but there is I have unleashed a ghost in my car that accelerates back to the level that I have set at cruise control, right? And
Right.
I don't think of that as like, I am not in control anymore, because of course
Right.
I'm in control. Yeah, I find it really, really interesting. But no, I'm not thinking about how robotic my car is.
What about you, Jimmy? I kind of feel like you may go more this way. Like, hell
Well,
yeah, my car is a transformer.
see, I gotta start from a clear basis or context, right? So I think I don't know how many people realize that how advanced and how computerized vehicles are now today. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a full-on computer that's built into your vehicles that control and monitor all of the bells and whistles in your car now.
Mhm.
Maybe 40, 50 years ago, not so much. But now you've got everything from your gauges to letting you know when your fuel needs to be refilled, all those kinds of, those are all various sensors, and there is a computer that's running all of that, right? And if you take your car to the mechanic, the first thing it's going to do is they're going to plug in right into the computer to get all of the data,
All the codes.
especially if you've gone to a Jiffy Lube recently. They'll just plug it right in and then just like, oh yeah, your car has done this many miles and you need to rotate your tires and all of that, just based off of that data. So Yeah, your cars are becoming more and more like robots. The more automated they become, the more like AI robots they're going to be. Especially with new like CES, right? They
Yeah.
announced both BMW and Volkswagen announced that they're doubling down on their involvement of generative and chat AI in their into their cars, into their automobile computer systems. So like BMW's been using an integration with Alexa, but now the Alexa LLM, they're doubling down on that so that it can give you all of the answers to the various aspects of your computer, like
Yeah.
fuel and mileage and all of that kind of stuff, readily available, asking for directions, asking about a region that you're in, all of those kinds of things. And it's all, it's all linked into your car's computer. So, yes. I'm 100% in the cars are becoming more and more your AI robots. Hopefully, we'll probably see some life imitating art, from like Minority Report, where the cars are driving themselves and traffic is no longer a problem because,
Yeah.
Right.
we just say, hey, I want to go here. And it's like, okay, zoom, and just do it.
See,
Yeah.
and I love what they're doing, but I feel like they're missing, for me, they're missing the thing, because I can actually set up like an interaction with ChatGPT voice, right? Like I can do that. What I want my car to do is I want to be able to give it access to my calendar and my dealer's maintenance thing, and
Right.
for it to then say, so these are the 3 windows that look like you can schedule the maintenance that you really need to schedule. I want that to be
Yeah.
a text that comes in my
Mm-hmm.
phone,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like opt into the email, and for me to go, yeah, number 2 is good, and have that happen. Like, if you are a robot, make your own doctor's appointments and let me know. And like, if we
Yeah.
have autonomous driving, like set up the taxi for me for the next appointment that I'd like. That's what I want. I can
Yeah.
figure out maps. It's this like connecting all of these Internet
Yeah.
of
I,
Things.
I
You
think
want the
you're gonna get
automation
it
side
too,
of it.
because BMW's update with the
Yeah.
LLM, that's exactly the kind of stuff that they're talking about. So
And here's what I'll say too. Like you brought up CES, and I think this is a good point. Like, yes, they're humanoid. That's why I always say the word humanoid, because robots that look like a human form, right? Like the Tesla Optimus, and they will have certain use cases, but not all. Not that doesn't make sense to have a humanoid robot in a lot of cases. 4 wheels, 3 wheels, 2 wheels, gyroscope type stuff like the Segway will do just fine in a lot of cases because of what they need to do in their role is. So it's also this thought of like, my car's not a robot. And then you're like, okay, well, define a robot, define an AI robot. All you have to
Right.
do is go look at CES, and you're like, oh, they come in all shapes and sizes. And a lot of them have wheels because obviously, for the efficiency of a wheel. It doesn't make sense for it to be standing bipedal or pedal, whatever it is, and walking, and having
Right.
to have a gait and all this stuff. It's like, it's super complex with gyroscopes and all this stuff. So yeah, like I'm with you guys. Like I do actually. I mean, now after reading that, it was kind of like this light bulb, and I'm like, yeah, my car is way more like a robot. And going back to what you said, Jyunmi, about working on cars. So quick, not firefighter story on this one, just quick being 45 story. Like my first car was an '86 Ford Escort. But before it was my car, it was my dad's car. He had actually bought it. I think it was the first brand new car that I remember as a kid. We always had hand me downs and stuff like that. My dad was out we were out in LA, and my dad was driving over 2 hours each way on the whatchamacallit, the LAX, the LA freeway, whatever that's called, to the airport and back, because he worked for Western Airlines at the time. Anyway, '86 Escort. Years go by. My brother hits a deer. It's got a dent in the hood. It becomes my first car in like '96, right? So it's 13 years old at this point. Before that, I remember my dad coming home. He had a history of being a mechanic before he was into white collar stuff, and in over a week's time, he got rides to the airport when we were in Georgia. He pulls the entire engine out, takes off the small block, and replaces what he used to call the 50-cent seals. But to get to these 50-cent seals required a disassembly of this. And my dad did this over a week. put the whole car back together, and I drove it years later, right, as my first car. I mean, there's people who could, but you would have to be so careful these days about what you're disconnecting, what you're messing up. I would be fearful. I'm not like a oil change, but even I bet you coming soon, even oil changes aren't going to just be something people opt to do in their garages anymore. Because number one, it doesn't save money, which would be the main reason for doing it, unless you just like working on your own cars, which is fine. But there's just so many things now in a car that are computer automated or run that you have to be really careful about what you're tinkering in a car. I will say in 2023, it was a big year for my wife and I. We had been trying to get towards EVs, but Teslas are out of our range, right? Well, we ended up first early in the year. I traded in my old 97 Jeep that definitely had one computer on the whole thing, called like a PCM. It had one computer, all in the Wrangler, to an i3. So we got a used i3 that had just had a battery replacement in it because of warranty. So 2015 i3, BMW i3, but it's got a new battery in it. We're like, great, that's awesome for getting around town. And then later in the year, we bought a Bolt, also used.
Right.
Like, that was such a huge push for me to get to that EV. But like, really, when I look at those two cars, I'm not touching those cars in my garage. I do minor things. I installed CarPlay on the i3. That was a big thing after Christmas. That's about it, man. I'm not touching it after that. And this is only going to get more complex. Like you said, Jyunmi, like you go to the experts and they go, yeah, sure. Bink. And they plug in the thing and they're like, what's going on with the car? And to your point, and Beth, like, that's just going to get easier, hopefully, for the consumer. I do worry about that content being gated by the manufacturers. We saw this, I think it was BMW, who tried to charge people for heated seats as an upcharge. They were literally remotely turning it on and turning it off. You either paid the subscription, you got heated seats, or you didn't. And people revolted and they backtracked, and they don't do that anymore. Wow. I do worry about that from the AI side. I really believe Tesla's model of almost being a loss leader for the cars, so that they can catch you on the subscription with AI. Yeah. I think this is the future, and I'm a little nervous about it. That was a lot, I know, but I just want to kind of give you my experience. But what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think that's what I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I have a feeling that as vehicles and any kind of equipment is going to go more and more computerized, the software is what's going to be pushing it. For example, just a few days ago, a bunch of Chinese electronics manufacturers got into the auto business and acquired some automotive software companies and things like that. So like your Huawei, which is famously known for phones, but they make a lot of telecom equipment, is getting into the auto business, and they acquired a company that makes a smart car OS. And so their competition, Jyunmi, also did the same thing. So we can see that more investment in software experiences or software UX UI into your automobile, that's the trend. And anything that's software related has a tendency to go to the subscription model. I mean, take a look at some of like our favorite software, like Adobe Creative Cloud, and, just having that monthly access to information or software that's just constantly updated. And that seems to be the model. So I can totally see that being applied to your vehicle. Now, hopefully we won't have such a revolt like the BMW did. They obviously were testing the waters and in that space, and it didn't work for them. Right. But that's
the old Disney model. Let's see if they'll also pay for this.
And so if they start little steps where they're just like, oh, would you like this additional feature? Sure. That's just 99 cents more per month. This other feature. So you can do microtransactions on there for subscriptions. That, I mean, It's like,
And
oh, but I want this integration.
we're
You
gonna,
know?
See,
as humans, we're gonna slide right in there, and we're
Yep.
like,
Yep.
you ask us 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, how did we get here? How am I paying 3 or 4 different subscription, super package, whatever? And I'm like, oh, I would like to have, air conditioned seats in Florida in the summertime. That would be nice. Usually it's heated, but you don't get the AC.
Yeah.
That is usually like the EX package or the LX package on that car.
right.
Is it going to be now that all cars kind of, I guess Tesla maybe does this, but they have different packages, but like Chevy Bolt, okay, the 2027 Chevy Bolt or whatever, is that car identical across, like they build one, it's a different color, but it's one, and everything on that car now comes through me in the package, and like, yeah, cool, here's the car, and the dealership may be like, this is why we think you should upgrade to this package, you get all these other features. But if you don't, we just turn it off and remotely your car stops doing that shit. Like, it's like, it just, like, we can take you down to a base model, or we can rev you up. Or, hey, when your kid is driving it, they only get these features and it's governed to 65 miles an hour, no more. When you're driving it, your thumbprint, your code or whatever goes in there, and whoop, you have a whole different car. It'll go 85, it'll go 90. There's no restrictions on it. But we know when your kid's in it, and we have a feature for that too. I mean, it seems to me the car itself will be way less important than the technology and the AI with the echoes and the voice controls and all the stuff that you're talking about, Beth. That is how I think cars are going to be sold in the future. And it's going to be an afterthought that, oh yeah, by the way, it also keeps me in lane assist, will warn me when there's people around, will take over if in certain situations, will do light autonomous driving and eventually full autonomous driving in certain conditions and so on and so forth. I just think like people were going to care less and less and less about maybe the manufacturer, and it's going to be more about the bells and whistles that you can get.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're looking at is your car will become more like your phone. It's your personal accessory, right? All integration across all of your devices. That's kind of seems to be the push. And there's the one fear I have is they're putting bigger and bigger screens and more screens in a vehicle for even all the passengers and everything. And we've talked about, or there's heads up displays. They've tried to be integrating that into cars for years. With all of that additional real estate, when do you think they're going to try and make the play for, you can have all the features. You can either pay for them or just watch this 30-second ad.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
before you pull out of the driveway?
Yeah, or while you're parked at a stoplight, there's 5-second ads on YouTube. Why not have it play in the bottom corner of the windscreen?
I think if the car's in drive, there's no chance of that. If the car is in park, kind of like when it'll restrict you from doing typing on your screen if it's not in park, or for safety. Jyunmi, I don't know, man. What do you think, Beth?
What about?
I think that's a ways away, because I think the biggest play right now is convincing people that they're safe, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but when like the screen at the gas station started screaming at me unexpectedly, I jumped, and that was not a positive experience. I don't know on my foot anywhere near a gas pedal or brake during that experience, right? Like, even if we're in park. But I do think that they're rolling out the robotaxis in cities, right? You talked about Phoenix. Motional is in Las Vegas and is starting in
Vegas too.
Los Angeles. What I am interested in, because I live outside of Washington, D.C., what I'm really interested in is where it can intersect with public transportation. So is this an opportunity to create bus routes based, like, that are AI optimized, right? So what are the full times that buses happen? Like, is there a way to pull out to create more options? Is there a way to supplement the underground or rail system?
Yeah.
Without having to do all of that infrastructure, because that's happening a couple blocks away from me. Yay, Purple Line in DC area. But it's a ton of investment and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And what I would really like is if they sense each other, right? So we already have bus lanes or
Right.
um,
Mhm.
bike lanes, right, to
Mhm.
create more safety. I would love to have something where they sense each other and you just get in a line and you just move forward,
An
so
EV
that the
lane. Yeah. I'm all for it.
safety
Yeah.
factor
Yeah.
is
Not EV, but
right.
an autonomous lane. Yeah.
The safety factor is based on their sensing each other. Now, there are stories of people just like doing stupid weird shit like, oh, it's an autonomous vehicle, I think I'll go
Yeah.
stand in front of it and see if it stops.
Yeah. Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, if you're wrong, that's a hell of a bet.
Yeah.
So like that kind of like, let's screw with the tech needs to not be like a thing that's happening on a regular basis. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the bus lane thing where like everybody, then the ad is definitely playing on the inside of the bus, Jyunmi.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
in,
yeah,
in
yeah.
I live in Tampa, but I'll be in Orlando tomorrow. I mean, like there's I'm in Orlando a lot, and because of what they're building and stuff, if you go onto Disney property, which is 40 square miles, that's not a it's large 40 square miles of property. You'll find that they now have um like center bus lanes, because obviously it makes sense for if you get on a Disney bus, you're moving from park to park. They don't want you to have to sit in normal traffic for that. So like we even see stuff like that. On the other side of the city, Universal is building their third park, I guess it's called Epic Universe. It's massive. It's bigger than Magic Kingdom. Huge construction pile. It'll be done mid next year. Super, super cool, by the way, if you're into that kind of stuff. They're building roads because it's not exactly on the main Universal property. Same thing. They're like paying along with the city for extensions of like the Kirkman Road extension, stuff like that, in order to do that. And I think, Beth, you're right. Like, how far off are we from those movers, those people movers, being a little less bus with driver, a little more automated, a little more in their own lanes where they're kind of
Yep.
protected and there's LiDAR and the whole thing. And also, how far away are we from sitting in a bus and like you get on the bus and the door closes and then nothing happens? You're like, why aren't we moving? And then what you find out is like the bus is going to hold here for 30 seconds, just like trains do, because it
Right.
already knows the position of all other buses in situation. And through AI algorithms, it knows if I just wait 30 seconds, we'll actually have a better experience and ride for the customer, and we'll arrive earlier than if we had jammed into the traffic. Now just
Right.
expand that to, I don't know, all cars, all
Yep.
vehicles at some point. And then what does that do for traffic? I think AI is going to be a huge, huge player in congestion and traffic jams, because humans just simply are the worst when it comes to traffic. We all make it worse, either through rubbernecking when there's an accident, or simply just, we want to believe if I just kill it at 85, I'll get there faster. It's kind
Right.
of like the weight equation we talked about last week, right? Like,
Right.
but what if you could convince me that the AI is right and I'm wrong, and that I don't need to crush it at 85 because I'm just gonna be in the back of somebody else's car, just in, not hit them, but just in traffic. And that if I worked at 65 and all of the cars are sort of coordinating on the LIE or something like that, we're all going to get there better. But you have to like basically take the power out of the human's hands, because there'll always be some a-hole that just slams on it and ruins it for everybody. Quick changing lanes. I mean, think about that. Think about just one in like a traffic area. One person cutting across 4 lanes a mile from me could negatively impact me, not dangerously, but could negative impact me and cause a 5-minute slowdown on me 3 miles away, because it just was a train reaction of slowdowns and pain and I
Right.
think AI has a huge part to play in that. I want to real quick before we jump into anything else, I want to bring up what Gwen said, which was, yeah, problem is one thing goes wrong and you have no car. I agree with that, Gwen. That is the downside of it, is like you can't just go fix it in your garage, or maybe you can if you're talented. I'm not saying people can't. I could. I am now feeling more and more reliant on I will say this is my biggest issue with Tesla is the right to fix. It's my biggest issue with Tesla. It's the reason I personally would not own a Tesla. And that's that Tesla will void warranties if your local mechanic, does not matter if they're an EV specialist and they know what they're doing. If it's not Tesla that fixes the car, you're in a world of trouble because they can void warranties if they find out. It's like looking in a cell phone and finding out that you went to an iFixit. Apple's like, yeah, no beans on that one. You know, it's no good. That worries me a lot because there's lots of mechanics who are going to be very, very good and have independent or want to have independent shops who are EV specialists who know exactly how to work around the high voltage stuff and help you with your car and stuff. And we need those. But if you're going to have more, if the pattern is going more towards Tesla, which is, hey, you buy this Chevy, you can only talk to Chevy. You talk to anybody else, we'll void your warranty and you're screwed. You know. And by the way, I've watched YouTube videos where $200 fixes were $20,000 fixes with Tesla, and that's not even an exaggeration. Right. So you get people who I would be deadly nervous about buying a used Tesla because my fear would be I get bargain, you know, a Model 3, several years old. It's got 75,000 miles on it. It should still have a good battery. I get into it under 20,000. 3 months later, I owe 20 extra thousand to fix it. Otherwise, it's bricked in my driveway. And that scares the crap out of me. So I think, Gwen, you have a really good point there. And to have the electronics check that she said is a couple $100 or more. You know, I mean, you're not getting into a Tesla. You're going to pay a lot more than a couple $100. No offense to Tesla, by the way. So I think obviously what they're doing is amazing. It just scares me as a consumer of somebody who is still in a part of my life where I'm buying used cars. I'm not buying brand new cars off the lot. They're going to be 2 or 3 years old, and I know there's going to need to be maintenance. And if I want to play in the EV world, there's some considerations there about that part of it, because I do worry about these manufacturers locking us out as consumers.
Well, there is an opportunity there, though, to be consumer centric and still maintain, you know, that level of quality, right? It's the same reason why Apple doesn't like to repair anything that anyone else has touched, is because, you know, maybe they messed it up. I don't know. However flimsy, flimsy that reason is, but you know, we're already used to leases and things like that, and people tend to turn over for a new car every few years. So it's an easy jump in logic to where it's a true subscription. You know, I want to keep my car a monthly payment, and they take care of absolutely everything. I don't have to ever worry about it. I pay my $100 a month or whatever it'll actually be, you know, and then when new one comes in, it's like I said, cell phone. Every couple of years, I'll just start my subscription for the new one, and the new one will come out.
Or like what's probably going on in DC with the rideshare stuff, right, Beth?
Right.
Like you don't even have to own the car. You can just subscribe to a service and go get it off the corner like you could a scooter.
Right. Like, yeah. And we have bike share too. Right. And the advantage, the thing that moves up for that, I think, is then when there are sensors and predictions about when you're going to be able to need it and it comes to you. The other thing I was thinking, like, seriously, a subscription that I would pay for is, tell me where the parking spot is within a 4-block radius.
I'm going here.
Where I'm going, and then park in it for me. Right? Like, I swear to God, I will pay $9.99 a month if you have that. I might even pay more, but boy, would that be delightful.
Drop me off at my door, go park.
Oh,
I don't need it.
Better. All right, I drive like I'm here for 2 hours. Drive 20 minutes away and find a parking spot.
Wow. Do you want to park, Beth? Even better. Do you want to park for cost or efficiency? You know what I mean? Like, and you may go like, I don't care if you go drive. You take it's an EV or something. You're like, I don't care if you drive 5 miles out of where I am. Just be back and get me when I'm ready to go again and heat my damn seats.
And now it's an investment. Okay, so I'm in a show. I'm going to be here for 2 hours. Turn on Lyft and go and like let people ride in the car and do stuff and make a little money, and then come back and
Go
pick
work
me
for
up, and
me.
then we'll go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, go work for me. That's a super idea. Look, I don't think any of this is out of the picture. Honest to God, I think everything we've said will probably happen. I don't think you've said one thing I disagree with. So we're at the end of the show here, but I'm curious. Okay, let's see. It's 2024. Let's give it 6 years. Let's just say top of the decade, 2030.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to have fully autonomous cars?
Yes.
Fully
Yes.
autonomous.
Yes.
How prevalent will they be?
I think by 2030, it'll be in the major transportation sector. So
Okay.
we're talking about trucks, delivery, semis, those kinds of things. That'll be 100% fully autonomous. And then we'll probably see mass transit start moving into there. Personal vehicles, probably another 5 years before we see fully autonomous. I'm saying I think by 2040 we'll have Minority Report. We'll
Ooh,
have
okay.
full grid car
Yeah.
lanes, and everything will be all upon that single
I
grid.
mean,
And
AGI will exist by then, and that
yeah,
could drastic. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
that's definitely a thing. What do you think, Beth?
If any of these innovations happen, right, then that could upgrade. Like I don't think I'm alone in Washington DC traffic who would
Yeah.
be like, "Yep, I will do an autonomous thing if I never have to really park again." And
Yeah.
like I'm just so like that kind of thing I think could really up the level of adoption. I think
mhm,
probably the first like 50%, first 35%, 50% happens much faster than the second half, right?
Mm,
So
mhm.
yeah.
I can see by 2030 if it really meets people's needs, that's like a 50% adoption.
Yeah. I
I'm going to
think
go
the
with you guys
question
on this
more
one
is
and
a
say
infrastructure thing.
Yeah.
I was just going to say really quick. I think by 2030 we have AGI, artificial general intelligence. For anybody that's listening doesn't know what that is. That's just the point at which AI is supposed to be smarter and more capable than humans. I mean, in some cases, there's different topic on that. We've talked about that before. But anyway, I believe that'll happen by 2030. And that's going to obviously not just cars. That's going to impact everything, right? Like everything that's going on. But cars specifically, we know we're already at like level 3 at a level 5. I don't really know all the autonomous levels, but I think level 5 is fully autonomous. I know we're not there yet. I don't believe. Obviously Tesla, but not just Tesla, Waymo, Waze, not Waze, Waymo, Cruise, which is a GM
Right.
deal, and then several other companies you guys have mentioned. And of course, that's just stuff here in the States. There's stuff all over the world that are working on this. So definitely, I believe that's going to happen. I kind of always said my 13-year-old, I don't believe she'll ever drive an ICE, an internal combustion engine car. I think my daughter will only ever know EVs for her cars. At least that's the way we're trying to
Mhm.
set it up. She's 3 years out from driving. She probably will get one of the cars that's in my driveway, right? One of
Right.
the EVs, right? That has a hand me down. So I think that's interesting. And then, yeah, I think all the stuff we just talked about, subscription models, pay to play. I love the idea of go work for me car and become a Lyft while I'm gone. That's awesome. And if it gets dirty, go get it cleaned before you bring it back to me. Give it a once over wash before it gets back to me on the nasty winter streets of DC or something. You know what I mean? Go get the salt off my vehicle so it doesn't corrode. I'm for all of that. All right. Any other? We're out of time, but like any other last minute predictions on this? Your car is a robot. Is it an AI robot? It's a robot. It's a robot. It's a computer. A modern day car is a computer controlled device. Any other predictions you guys want to throw out there before we wrap it up?
AI is a funky Wild West. I think it is very likely that there is something that happens that makes all of our predictions sort of like sideways, skews it on its head. Like there's
Mhm.
Probably.
something that happens and
Yeah,
everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yes,
Yeah.
that was a much better way to do it.
Yep.
yeah. I think what we'll see the biggest changes, but may not be the biggest news, is a lot more AI integration into the internals. Like Intel
Yes.
announced their whole plan for AI enabled onboard chips and things like that. So I think that's where we'll see the biggest changes and the fastest changes.
Makes sense
Your
to
car
me.
is a robot. Your car is a GPU.
Hey, listen, we don't have time to get into it, but like, look, we know language models are going to be on our phones probably before the end of this year. So completely on board, don't need Wi-Fi language models. We also didn't talk about things like, what's it called? Tesla's Wi-Fi satellite. What's that called?
Oh,
SpaceX?
Starlink.
Starlink, not SpaceNet. SpaceNet, that's it. Starlink. Don't know where that came from. Starlink and the ability of all cars pretty much everywhere to have continuous like Wi-Fi would also play a huge role in this because of communication and, you know,
Right.
hey, go add a couple more, you know, whatever PSI to your tires. You know, the weather's getting bad in tomorrow. Go take care of that, right? That kind of stuff, you know, updates. I want to say thanks to Gwen really quick because she put in some good comments. She did 2 others on here. She talked about the new Julia Roberts movie. I haven't seen it, but it has Teslas being remote control driving on dangerous direction as though attacking family. That's fun. And she said, I think there'll only be 3 speeds for cars: leisure, drive, normal. And I'm late, so go as fast as possible. And police will then be free, as there will no longer be need for speed traps. That would be amazing. I'd be totally fine with that. I have said this before. I'm firmly in the camp of go ahead, car. Take me wherever you want. Yep. Jesus, take the wheel. That's me. I'm like, go ahead. Go ahead, AI. Redo the song. Do the Carrie Underwood song. Okay. AI, take the wheel.
I predict there will be a self-driving company called Jesus, right? And their whole thing will be Jesus did take the wheel. Just trust us.
Yep, exactly. I love it. All right, we're gonna end it there. I knew this would be a fun conversation. Thanks, guys, for kind of hanging out and playing pretend and predicting the future. It's probably my most favorite thing we do on this show. Is like just try to guess at what's going to happen in the next 30 days. Never mind the next 6 years. So we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're talking about scams. Probably less fun of a topic, but definitely important to talk about. You know, the AI scams that are out there, what you need to look out for, things like safe words. Probably not the general understanding of safe words, but what you need to do for your family and stuff like that. I won't be here, but the rest of the crew or whoever's here tomorrow will be talking about that stuff. I can't wait to listen back to it. That's it. Oh, last thing, real quick. We just dropped our next interview, Amanda Bickerstaff. Please go take a look at that. It's live now. This is a Thursday morning, the 18th, as you listen to this. She's awesome. She's CEO of a company called AI for Education. Go check it out. Awesome interview. If you want to listen to somebody who's making a difference in educators, students, schools, she's making in her company, not just her, making a difference. Go check out that interview. It was a really good one. That's it. Okay, that's it. We're out of here before we hit the 40-minute. See ya.
Aloha.